So, hello everybody, and welcome to today's 1 year anniversary episode of Live Feature Rant. We've got a couple awesome folks on here, returning guest Daddio66, and first time on the show here, Audranian up top, known by actually many names, and you might have actually seen him on Theory Forge last week. We had so much to talk about, and he's such an awesome person to talk about, or talk with about Landmark, I should say. I already need to take a drink now. But basically, it's like somebody who shares the same like passion and enthusiasm and
No, I'm just crazy, man.
understanding of Landmark. I would say it's awesome to have both of you guys on here. I really appreciate it. Everybody in chat there, welcome, and thank you very much for coming. And also, if you want to, spread the word and get more people in here, that'd be totally cool.
Retweet the tweets.
I'm not going to start the giveaways until we got at least 50 people in here, so.
Oh, you're doing giveaways today,
Oh, yeah,
huh?
2 Trailblazer packs and 2, the 2500 SC cards.
Very nice.
If it turns out that we don't have a big enough showing to get through all of it, I'll probably do the rest in YouTube comment things. So we'll get to that when we get to it, though. So we come a long way. A year ago, it was just me and my webcam, no UI. Let's see, that bookcase was on that wall, so that's what you were seeing, and now all I have back here, this is all my swag, my Planet Side 2 stuff you see over there. On the other side, got the Landmark EQ stuff. I actually still have an extra of the EQ Next Landmark PC Gamers and the poster from SOE Live 2013. And I was going to do them as like giveaway contests and stuff, but it just... I'm waiting for the numbers to come back. It'll probably be an EverQuest next thing at this point.
I think as soon as they leave, include some scripting and NPCs with the story bricking and stuff for Landmark, there'll be a lot more people back to it.
Oh yeah, that's gonna totally change everything. I think Storybricks is what a lot of people are waiting for, but that's open beta stuff. So
Yeah, it sounds like it at this point. With the move to Kinos, like, there was the race things for so long, and if they kept the pace, maybe if they kept the pace with the Dark Elf stuff, we'd have gotten through all the races, but since the pace totally got thrown off in so many different ways, it's like, you know what, we're just going to do Kinos, and, after Kinos, is a good chance they'll do the wipe.
I actually
I'd say
think some of the...
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I don't know. I think that with Kinos, I think it's just like a break in between because they want to combine all the stuff, really get a good idea of here's some of the races put together, and then they're going to continue on with the races. I think we've still got a long way to go on that road to open beta for Landmark. Yeah. What?
Oh, the comment from Diggs there. Yeah, no, it's yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Daddy, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just saying, I think that they did the contests, they did the judging, and they tried cramming so much into each of those things. I think it really took some time away to moving on to the other races. They're moving to the city for the architectural style of the different districts and stuff in there, and that's going to encompass everything: human, dwarven, ogres, and all that. So they got the base. They had some great player builds. They had some great contests, and that's all a start. But I think they took too much time with some of the contests. Let's say, instead of having 2 weeks and then a week of judging and so on, if they would have shortened the lengths a bit more, they might have been able to squeeze in 1 or 2 more races.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think we've still got some more races on the docket. They've mentioned Knolls. Eventually they're going to be touching on those non-player races and thinking about that. I mean, you got to get the decor for orcs. There's the whole Rowan side of humanity, and figuring what that looks like. And then now that more people are talking about halflings, there's that whole halfling section, and we still got a long way to go with regards to races.
For sure. That's one of the reasons why I feel like they're probably going to push to open beta sooner than later. So that way, a month after the wipe, we're basically going to be back where we are right now in terms of resources, probably even further ahead because the systems will be even different by then. So I think at that point we'll be able to keep back on track with this stuff. But at some point they're going to have to be like, all right, we're going to basically force everyone to take a break from building because we need to wipe.
You think we need a wipe?
Well, they've said
open beta
it's necessary for going into.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I thought if we go to open beta, yeah, definitely. But
that's the only wipe I'm
talking
talking about.
Okay, all right. I was thinking H1Z1 for a minute.
No. H1Z1, they can.
We do need a wipe. Landmark, we don't yet.
Those PvE servers in H1Z1 need like a wipe every day. Otherwise, it's just like you're going to be surfing on Punji 6 everywhere. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Wow. So many people are griefing so many buildings in H1Z1. Yeah. I'm glad Landmark has a claim. You can put your stuff down in your claim. No one can build unless you allow it to. That's nice.
It's really interesting to see. Like, comparing that to the forums, like, there's this whole forum community, we're talking about, a year ago, right? So, pre-alpha, when we were thinking about it and what Landmark would look like, what EQ Next would look like, and just seeing there were so many people who were thinking, what is it called, creative mode, and wanting free build, where anyone could build anywhere, and the community was kind of split in half. There was half the people saying, no, we should have the claims set up the way that they have it. That's brilliant. And other people were saying, no, we should have free builds. Everybody should build everywhere. So seeing H1Z1 actually say, okay, free build, go for it, and seeing how it turns out. It's
well, you get resources from other players. You take down their stuff. You can get into their caches of stuff. It's not like Landmark. If I bust down your door and find your void vault, I'm not taking your stuff. I'm just accessing my void vault. So it's a different situation.
True.
All right. I mean, since day one of Landmark, I know I was there day one, as soon as the game was downloaded and as soon as they let us in on the servers. What was it, 2 days before they actually got the servers running properly and people could log in and actually try the game? There's been a big change in the game since that. Even, back when, what was it, SOE Live 2013?
Yeah.
When they showed the EverQuest Next videos on the screen, and you saw the buildings being taken down, the little lion guy being chased, the giant golem smashing the castle walls and stuff. That's all coming. That's we're at like 70-80% in Landmark right now. As Dave said in the last stream, they're not talking about EverQuest Next. They don't want to show it. They might show a bit or here and there, but they don't want people seeing one thing and then seeing another saying, oh, this sucks, or putting the two together when they're completely unrelated. Landmark is the design tools, and people have to realize Landmark started off as a platform to help create content, see what players could do with this. I'm sure a lot of the direction that they've taken so far, look what the players have contributed.
Yep.
Between Voxel Farm, not knowing about things until players from Landmark told the devs, and they went back to Voxel Farm and were like, wow, I didn't know I could do that.
Yeah, we totally, I don't think people realize just how much of an impact that the player base has had on pushing back. I mean, other games that we've been involved with, it's pretty much a one-way direction. Like, I was talking to a friend of mine and telling him about all these ideas that I have for EverQuest Next and Landmark and whatnot, and he's like, well, you can't say anything. Like, you just wait until the devs tell you what to do. And I'm like, no, it's not like that. Here's what these ideas that we've come up with, and since we've come up with them, I've actually seen some of these ideas that have been posted on the forums that were crazy ideas back in pre-alpha that have slowly made their way into the game, and it's just a different kind of communication where we come out and say we want better resolution, for example, with the voxels, and the developers are like, well, we can't get better resolution. This is the best that we can do, and so the players are like, well, we'll just we'll work with what we've got and we'll squeeze it down. We'll figure out, oh, check this out, and we start just building with that stuff. And the devs go over to Voxel Farm and they're like, well, they knew the engine was capable of doing that. There's no doubt that they knew that it was capable of performing those microvoxels. The question was they didn't realize that the tools were capable of manipulating it that and players being able to control and build that way. And they said, well, if players can build this way, why don't we just make it easier? The tools can handle it. Let's adapt the tools. Let's make it better. And they're pushing it, pushing that limit. And it's a back and forth, which I have not seen with any other betas that I've been a part of, I can't find anything else that's similar to this. But maybe limited experience. I don't know about you guys. Have you guys ever seen anything where it's this back and forth?
Well, this is the first game I've ever bought into in an alpha. Now I'm buying into games that are alpha off Steam pretty regular, and they are nowhere near as getting the developers' feedback as Landmark is. Other games that are similar, I don't know if I should mention them or not, but everybody should give them a try to compare them to Landmark. What I'm playing is Graft. It's a sci-fi type of...
Grav?
Grav.
Yeah.
Sci-fi type of thing, where it's open sandbox, multiplayer, PvP, all that stuff. It's not going to be like Rust. Rust is another survival type of game, but you still have your crafting and your resource gathering and everything similar to Landmark. Minecraft. Now, Minecraft, I guess, started all going out, gathering, building up your houses and all that. But Landmark, to me, is still in a world of its own with what it allows you to do. Because with the voxel manipulation and shaping the voxels and microvoxels and everything else, you can find any type of architecture out in the real world and recreate it in Landmark if you take the time to do it. If you take the time to research the tools to do it. Not everybody's good at microvoxels. You look at somebody like Fugazi, the guy's phenomenal with the detail work that he does on his roofs and his beams, his arches and his columns. He finds that stuff, I guess, rather easy to do. Me, it goes in one ear and out the other. I have to write things down or watch the video 10 times before I can replicate it.
Gotcha.
Using the same tools as the other person, So,
but you know what? I'll say this. Early on in Alpha, I met up with a couple of people who have become really famous builders now. They were just building neat stuff at the time and just really learning the tools, right? And I realized, hey, you're really good at the detail work. You can really do the really, really fine detail work, and you're learning this thing with microvoxels, and you're really good with props. And me, I'm good at the overall scope of stuff. And they together, our different skill sets could work together. And you're seeing that start to come out more now, where people are working together in team builds, where different people's assets come together. And I think that when dungeon tools come around, when Storybricks comes around, when the whole Linktronics thing really blows up, and we can really do a lot of the amazing stuff that's going to be coming with linking and triggering, you're going to see a lot more of that, where people, one person gets the scope, and this is the architect who has the overall scope and idea, and then you get other people who can draw drawings. You can't do that in Landmark, but they draw the sketches, and there's some awesome sketches that are going for Kinos, right?
Yeah.
And then the other people, they go and they do the microvoxels, and the other people find the right props to put in the right place, and together, there's maybe 15, 20 people that work towards building this one awesome dungeon. And then players go and play test it, and that's part of the other people that are going and making the dungeon better, making the story bricks, making the play testing, making sure it all looks good. And after everything's said and done, this is 100 people who have participated in this one dungeon, and it's freaking awesome, and it's great, and it was a community project. Mm-hmm. And there'll be hundreds of those things,
That's going back into the alpha when Lethality did the Mega City. Yep. What was it? 22 plots
22.
put
I thought it
together
was like 35 or something.
32
36.
somewhere. I forget the exact number. It was a very large number of plots involved between Dephonic, Tenma, myself, Dark Lady, and several other Daystars, and a lot of talented, creative people that did that. And it was just, it killed everybody's FPS. Everybody, went to a crawl in there. But the devs enjoyed it because it tested their system and showed the strengths.
Images of there, right? They're
Yes,
still
yes,
using
the
images and videos.
The
that they
launcher has an
recorded.
image up there from the marketplace.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And it's just, that's what we were trying to do, though, is push the game's boundaries so that they can increase the limits, give us better frame rates, give us better, what do you call, optimizations. And they're slowly doing that with every build. I mean, the last optimization was back, November, I think? The major optimization patch for graphics.
Yeah.
The December patch came along and took a few steps back with the graphics performance and stuff, because all the stuff that we can do now between linking, triggering, emitters, just some of those fire plumes.
The full depth of the caves, but it still doesn't appear the culling is in effect. So we're seeing much more stuff and much more varied stuff in the caves than we used to, that we're not actually seeing, because that's supposed to be culled by the terrain, but they haven't set up all of that stuff yet. So it's they have a ton of room for optimization just in the simple stuff that, well, I say the simple stuff, maybe not necessarily simple, the obvious
code.
Obvious. Yeah, it's just a little code. Yes, as they like to say.
Hello.
No, because I can't hear it.
We're having some technical difficulties.
Yes, don't worry. Ignore
But
the
it's just a slight bit of code, but I think it's like you kind of have to do that. You optimize so that most people can handle it, and once you get it to the point where most people can handle it, then you just chock it full of more and more and more stuff until it bogs everything down, and that way you can test to make sure that stuff is in, and then you optimize it for there, and you do the whole iteration process all over again. And a lot of people aren't used to that kind of development, iterative development. And that's, I think, I don't know if you guys are, like, how many people actually follow, like, the process that they work with, but way back in the day, they mentioned that they weren't a waterfall process, that they're using an agile system, and then they changed the whole system of how they work their development process so they could upgrade the blueprint. I don't know, what is it called now? It was the blueprint, it was the roadmap, it was the design doc. It's changed so many times, but their process is now iterative. They can forecast a couple of months ahead of time to know what's priority and what they need to do. They build, they design, they iterate, they test, and then they repeat. And that's the cycle that they have. It's really awesome.
And yeah, it's honestly, I know they say it's waterfall. It still sounds a lot more like.
It's not waterfall. Yeah, it's definitely not waterfall. Waterfall.
It's a lot more like Scrum now.
That
is what it sounds like. So, and I'm very used to Scrum. Scrum works really well. If people don't know what they're doing, Scrum is the stuff that's stuck at the bottom of the producer's shoe at the end of the day. If everyone does know what they're doing, they're able to keep on task the producers, make sure nobody is bottlenecked anywhere. Then it's a really, really awesome process. It's basically, now something I want to talk about. You were saying about how getting it optimized to a point and then throwing a bunch of stuff in and then optimizing again. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. It's basically the idea that you're carving a statue or whatever. You chisel off a little piece and then you finish it and polish it and smooth it out. And then you chisel off another piece that might even damage that area or change that area a little. And then you smooth out. And that's going to take a hell of a lot longer than like just blocking out an area and then kind of cleaning it up. And that's basically, what the process is instead of, every single time they put in a build that they optimize just what went into that build, it's going to take a hell of a lot longer than let a bunch of stuff, even compounding systems, go in and then clean it all up at once, possibly using some more intricate solutions.
Right.
So
I think that kind of blows people's mind though, because a lot of people are kind of expecting, you know, you go into the game and you're told it's a beta, and I know we know, the three of us at least, that okay, it's in beta, but it's really an alpha, but it's called a beta, but it's a thing that's in progress, right? When people see that, they think, okay, the devs have this grand vision and they're slowly revealing what that grand vision is to us slowly, people who are on the forums and who are watching and playing the game. They know what they're doing, exactly what they're doing, and they're just deluding us. And the reality is that they're kind of figuring it out as they go along. Like, they get an idea, they get a vision of what they want to do overall, and there's some of the stuff that they're going to reveal to us, and there's some stuff that they're kind of just figuring out, and there's some stuff that they're just going to keep secret because it's just good corporate policy, right?
yeah. Well, some stuff like the security stuff they have to keep secret.
Oh yeah. But then there's other stuff that, like, I can't say that some of the stuff that I've come up with on the forums is absolutely this, but I've been involved in a lot of discussions on the forums where, from what I knew, the devs had said we're going in this direction, and then people on the forums, not necessarily me, threw out some really good ideas, and the forum just kind of went with it, and everybody was like, yeah, man, that's a great idea, yeah, that's a great idea, and just kind of built on it. And then one of the devs was like, wow, this is really interesting, and they stopped talking about that mechanic overall in Landmark Live and everywhere else, and some of those mechanics we haven't heard about until recently, and what I'm seeing looks a lot like what we were fleshing out 6-12 months ago.
Yep.
It's different, but it has that kind of flavoring, has that kind of thing. And it just makes me realize that this is really a back and forth where we're giving ideas, they're listening, maybe not the way that some people want them to, where, thanks, Arian, for that great idea. Because half the crap, I'll be honest, half the crap that I come up with on the forums is just reiterations and reimaginations of other people's ideas. It's easy to do that. I have a couple of good ideas, but most of the time I'm just repeating something that somebody else said on another forum or Reddit or Twitch stream or something like that I was like, wow, that's a really good idea. So
sure.
I don't know, it's
a
live feature rant, right?
I actually kind of want to roll back on the way back train a little bit here. Now, before anybody had a chance to even play Landmark, anybody except media and people who are under real deal NDAs, not just like a player NDA, before we had any of that, some of the stuff that I was thinking may go into the game, some of the things I was hoping we would see. And honestly, looking over my list of stuff, there's some stuff, importable assets, Player Studio eventually, export the skeleton, do animations, import the skeleton with the animations. I would love to see that. I'm sure, way down the road they could do that, but nowhere in the current stuff. Spline tools, subsurface scattering controls, that's more 3D modeling stuff. That's not going to go in. Particle effects, possibly a beat matcher that goes with the music that you got in the game. That would be pretty lovely.
They actually said that on the last Landmark Live.
Really?
If you get a sound emitters with the music emitters and stuff they're planning, I could see someone doing a light show with links and triggering to the beats of the sound. Maybe not total control over it, but doing a light up with every fourth measure or whatever.
Pink Floyd laser light show at the Earth Observatory.
We're going to have timers as part of linking and triggering. The system that they have in place is just beginnings of it, but we're eventually going to have like half-second, 2-second, 1-second timers that you can.
Well, they just said in the last show they're going to be giving us the and/or control as well.
Yes.
So so you can actually program stuff to check, okay, if this is on, then that action is going to happen further down the line. So it's going to give you a lot more, not just a on-off type of thing. It's on and off or,
Yeah.
And
so, like I said,
got the beginnings.
Oh, go ahead.
Go on. What was it? The Halloween stuff that they had? They had that door that you click it and it moves and it makes a sound?
Yeah.
Right? So that was the beginning testing of a sound, click to make a sound thing. And they were saying that We want to have sound emitters, and they said that in the last live.
Quietly, that was Props 2.0 because that was also when they finally put in the new PhysX features with the particles. Yep. So they didn't really sell it as it, but it was most definitely like a Props 2.0. And Maris, hey, how's it going? Welcome, welcome.
I remember watching the live show, or was it the other show with... God, not Pentapod. I'm sorry. The name's slipping me right now. The one with
Rosie?
George and Rosie Rappaport. Yeah. Where they're talking, and we were discussing in chat, how about giving us the light off of a torch, the flame by itself? Mm-hmm. And that was the start of the emitters. And that just came out, recently from a discussion maybe had 3 to 5 months ago on that show. With the various, between having the fog and the smoke and everything else, they're doing a great job. I want more, I really wish that they had Player Studio available where we could submit the designs in Player Studio, create them, and let them sell them to us, I'm not sure how the voxel forge is going to start when they're planning on making something 100 times its size and then shrinking it down to become a prop. How much detail are we going to lose in that? I'd rather have a guy do it on a 3D wire, submit it, Player Studio wise.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll actually have a lot of quality and control with the mesh, like the voxel to mesh scaling stuff. It might be something where it's maybe a little iterative, that you make a larger part, you make a smaller part, and you can actually weld the pieces together, stuff like that, to make the more complex shapes. But I'm really excited for what we get for that sort of stuff. And that's kind of the sort of stuff that I had been thinking about going way back. Like, I guess I thought a lot of it in Player Studio consideration, thinking of Player Studio, like sound effects, music, voice acting, even those would be things that I'd love to have for Player Studio. Have, a professional voice actor like Trendane doing a narration of something. That guy's amazing. Like, that would have been fantastic. I dabble in, I say I dabble in voice acting. He's leagues ahead of me. I just do cartoon voices compared to him. But that sort of stuff. Something else that I had thought about going way back, and this is once again getting into the 3D modeling sort of things. Being able to put up a template image. Right now, we can use a reference image to our heart's extent, but it's not like an overlay in the game. We can't actually line things up. Whether it's a grid, and actually having grids would be a lovely thing, being able to put down 4 points and scale a grid in that area to know what we're doing and keep the measurements intact. But even more than that, being able to bring in, like if you're trying to build a castle by silhouette or something, you actually can put the image with that silhouette there and kind of build around it and use that as your guide.
Wow.
Of course, that would also, it would help even more if we could do that with an orthographic view. I don't know that any sort of viewport controls and stuff are going to be available. That's another thing I'd love to have, and I definitely did talk about a year ago, the idea of having multiple viewpoints, picture-in-picture sort of thing. So you can be standing here, have another camera here that you basically picture-in-picture you can swap between. Once again, with... Go ahead.
I think that might be possible. The whole... some of the stuff that I've talked about with the devs at SOE Live, it seemed like that the capability for them to put a secondary camera somewhere and be able to have that as a viewport where for example, you put a camera somewhere on your claim and you walk into the area and then that linking and triggering thing is set up so that, boom, you see for a moment, that view from that angle. I think that's entirely possible. Picture would be steps of that.
I would love to see some kind of in-game display like that, where you could take a picture and make it an actual television monitor and have like cameras around your property. That would be nice.
Yeah. It was. I think Bink Video that used to do that sort of thing going back like 10, 15, 20 years ago. Whenever you'd see a monitor on a screen somewhere in the game that's of some other part of the game, I believe they were usually one of the third parties that was very popularly chosen for that sort of stuff. So, that sort of stuff would be fantastic. For sci-fi bases, that'd be great. For fantasy stuff, you got your magic crystal or whatever. You've got some battleground going on up top, so you can be like the wizard watching over things. That stuff would be lovely. And
Just
actually,
for the intros into the role playing and dungeoneering and all the stuff we're going to be creating, I would love to have flyby cameras where the player clicks on something and experiences a cinematic,
yeah.
where that camera's going to fly by the door and start going down the tunnel. And all of a sudden it fades to you and you start going down the tunnel, just to give you a head start where you should be facing, where you should be going, maybe pointing you to the wizard in the tower, as you say.
Yeah, the golf course fly through. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They've done that in EverQuest 2, Nagina's Hollow Tower. They actually fly you from Nagina all the way up through the entire zone, all the way to where you are, and then zoom into your character, which gives you an interesting way to look at the entire zone. Not to throw down a forum thread, but since it's in the chat as well, I had thrown down a while back this concept of the next gen of screenshots, and it's kind of to throw a game out there, StarCraft and Warcraft. You can play a round, and then you can record a replay. And what it does, it doesn't record a video of what you did. It records pretty much a summation of all the actions, an aggregate of all the actions, right? And then it resimulates the entire thing that just happened. So the engine replays that. And there's I forget the name of it. It's Valve's Source Filmmaker, I think it's called. Allows you to pretty much do that exact same thing. They record the events that happen in the game, and they allow you to replay those events and tweak little things. And by doing that, you can make a video that is in real time in the game, and you can tweak all that stuff, and you can make a cinematic from inside the game, and it's all within the game element. You don't have to go out, tweak it up in some external program, throw it up on YouTube, and then patch it back into the game. It's all within the game itself, and I think that that's eventually one of the ways that we'll be able to make cinematics and make role-playing immersive experiences for the players who experience our dungeons, and that same tool will be able to be used by the developers to make those kind of story arcs for things in EverQuest Next. I mean, imagine for a moment you go and you complete this one raid, right? This is massive raid, and there's 400 people, and they're all involved, and there's all this action that's going on, and you wind up taking down the dragon, right? And this amazing event is a world event that never happens again. And so 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the road, this NPC is trying to tell you about the story, and they're like, let me tell you a story. And then you fade over to a video where the player can go into observer mode and can watch what happened 6 months ago, when 400 people beat that dragon, and you can re-watch the actual event, and you can see the players who were involved. All of that stuff is just saved as an event of importance, that whole 30-second bit of time, so that you can watch that event.
Right.
Yes.
Now, that's
That'll
what
be
I'm
cool.
liking about EverQuest Next, as you're saying, with world events. With their world events, I'm hoping there are some things like that will record it for future generations to replay and watch. But a lot of the world events in EverQuest Next, they were saying it's going to be one-time only events. So if there's a war between two factions and one side wins, that's changing that timeline. It's shifting right there. So it might be the Battle of the River Orcs or whatever, 500 people on the server were there to help defend and defeat the orcs and claim that land. That might be an event that's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
So I could see for something like that, have a magical crystal ball that you can rewind or recall and view the battle from. That'd be awesome.
Well, in the context of EverQuest Next, it's just a turn of the page with the Rose song.
Right. But first, before we can do that in EverQuest Next, those tools have to be in the game, and everything that we can do, or everything that they can do, we can do. So that tool needs to be in Landmark, and we need to have the capability to test that tool and make sure that it works right, so that when it does record an EQ Next, it records it right, and works seamlessly.
I can see one reason why they wouldn't initially put it in our hands when they have that functionality. And that's specifically because it might require a massive server load to actually record all of that stuff seamlessly and be able to replay it. So doing it once just to record it and then being able to replay it infinitely, that's fine. But you literally have to dedicate specific resources to it. So it'd be something you would have to be able to schedule with the developers. You'd have to be able to actually plan for it.
or pay station
I know,
cash,
Yeah,
or
buy a token
amount
or
of
something.
space.
Yeah.
You know.
One thing I'm looking forward to in EverQuest next is what they've done with EQ1, EQ2 is the guides program, where the guides are going to be able to interact with the players and start off some of these events for in-game community type of things. Not world stuff, but small little village somewhere. Guide might be, hey, let's start. I need 1,000 berries, and the first one to get them for me will be, handsomely rewarded. Might not be a major event, but it will be a player event. That's one of the things I like about in the game when we got PvP and Landmark. We had player events. Everybody was making arenas. Everybody was saying, all right, this night, this time, come to mine, we'll duke it all out. We had people lined up to play. Those were the player events of the day, I look at the PvP chat, and every now and then I see anybody want a PvP. I haven't seen a push for PvP arenas. In a way, I wish it was open world PvP on certain servers, just so you can have fun with each other. Not take what you have. Just, hey, I see you. I'm going to shoot you, just like a mob. Friendly fire would be pretty cool. Especially when you're attacking mobs, NPC monsters and stuff. And I shot my bow at the monster, but you were on the other side. It missed the monster and hit you. That might be fun. So
Something. So they just introduced in the last patch achievement system, and maybe it's just my mentality, but the first thing that I thought was, man, this is cool. When do I get to create my own achievements for other people? That's the first thought that went into my head. Wasn't I want to achieve all these things? It's I want to create my own achievements for other people.
That sounds like something you have to complete enough achievements before you're able to give out. I wonder how that would work if it's something that they actually visit something on your claim, access some prop, and it's like, hey, you have an achievement to go earn now. And then
Think about
completing a dungeon. Figuring out a series of switches throughout a dungeon. You're clicking on this book in one room. You're lighting a candle in another. Disarming a trap in a hallway. You've successfully navigated those three items. So at the end, you could be, a thief achievement or something, or a sharp eye, keen eye achievements.
Yeah. I see that more aligning with the contract system that I had come up with a while back, where it's just you reach objectives, right? You have a series of objectives that you've offered to another player to complete, and when they complete those objectives, they're rewarded with a reward, right? But what I'm talking about with the achievement system is, imagine some of these, I forget the names of them, there's some awesome voxelmancers and some really skilled people who know how to make stuff in Landmark. Imagine them being able to take, or other people taking their videos and turning those into a series of achievements. So you move this, you move that, you move this, you tweak this, you do these things with the voxels to create this rooftop or this curved rooftop or these various different things. So that way you have players creating step-by-step instructions on how to really create some amazing technical builds. And then that becomes really advanced achievements. And you pipeline that over to the Landmark players, so the Landmark players can create those and vote on the achievements, which ones are really cool. And those voted achievements that are really awesome, they get incorporated into the game overall, so that new players, they have that seamless experience built from the community.
Well, something along those lines, which I was just thinking of too as you were talking. Why not have a link which is triggerable when you click on it, like we have for screenshots going to Twitter? Make a clickable link that will take you to a YouTube video. Yep. Pop up the screen for a YouTube video. Click this lever to build this house, and it'll show you how to build that item or this house on YouTube. That might be
that was
nice
one of the better suggestions. That was one of the better suggestions in the next generation of screenshots thread, was that you could have a screen portal in the game that you click on that object and it opens up a YouTube video, or you click on a thing and it opens up a UI interface in the game that jumps to a YouTube video that's already apparently they have that connectivity, an API that exists that they can do that and they can tie the game into that. So I don't know how hard that is to incorporate, but
when you're looking at the SC store, you're just looking at a web page. So I think it's pretty simple for them just to make the link to a YouTube video.
It is.
Just allow the players to create those. links.
If I'm not mistaken, it's a browser running in AS3 scale form that we're seeing for the entire marketplace interface. So to have that link up with actual places on the interwebs totally makes sense. We already have some other, browser and link up functionality, like when we set up our Facebook and Twitter information. So it's, it does. There are definitely things that interface with the internet, and I would not see it being too much of a stretch to have something like that. It's just in terms of how long it would take to set something like that up, and all the legal and everything else that would be involved with dealing with YouTube. But it could be something that maybe YouTube isn't the solution. Maybe there's another video posting website that is more appropriate.
What's Player Studio? What's the Players one that they're Sony? Not Player Studio. Player Direct. It could connect to a video on Player Direct.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Player Direct is looking for people to submit videos, so that's a perfect opportunity right there. Take the Player Direct videos, make a link in the game from a item that I can put down, and say, okay, this is now. Little pop-up screen, you're watching the video right off Player Direct. Sony has total control over it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And the best part is, I think that with Player Direct, you're not going to have some bad links. That's my main worry about YouTube is, somebody creates this great thing and then they close their account or they pull the video down, and now you have links in the game to things that are no longer actually out there.
That would probably be one of the considerations for setting up that tech, is to actually make sure, validate things before people can even search for them, and probably query that like once a day. It wouldn't be that difficult to do once a day.
Yeah.
It'd be nice. I mean, there's a lot of things I would like to see that would be nice in the game, but with what they have now and what they spoke about during the last year, there were several points where Terry mentioned something or Dave mentioned something, and they would look at each other like, "Oh, you're going to talk about that now?"
I love it when they do that.
You want to talk about that now? Okay, yeah, and it was just like the interest went up, and they just gave you a little blurb, and I mean those type of things is what's keeping my peak in the game, waiting for that next feature to go live. It's just it's a game full of anticipation.
They're like, hey, you want? Oh, maybe not. I got another one for you though. It's like,
instead of smoke tripper, smoke troller. It's just called smoke troller.
So you know what? We were kind of talking about camera stuff. There are a couple other camera things that I kind of wanted to talk about. If you guys are all right, and actually one other thing before that. 3D printable claims, exporting our claim in some sort of format that we can 3D print. That was something that I requested a year ago. I know that would be so big time, but
I could say that is probably coming, but not anytime soon. Because how many people have 3D printers? In 5 years, that's going to be completely different.
Like Sony. You submit it to Sony, and Sony would hire a company to print it out and pay them.
Yeah,
and then you're paying Sony for the.
I would say it would be probably Sony working with a company to set up something where you can spend station cash and do the transaction that way. And of course, it would have to scale with the size and the how big that you're getting it made. But with the detail that goes into the textures and everything. You'd be able to get something that looks reasonable, making your one claim about this big, but I'm sure people would be willing to spend, $100 or whatever to get a nice, decent size, like computer tower sized build printout or whatever.
So look at Lego Minecraft when they first came out. I'm sorry, Lego Minecraft came out. You bought, $100 little 5-inch cube for Minecraft, so 6x6 3D printing for $100, wouldn't be a bad price if it's something that you enjoyed, you created, and you would like to see permanent.
Yeah.
I just want to go when I go to SVU Live. I want to be able to buy some of the avatars. I want to be able to buy action figures for my landmark characters. That'd be.
What's the EverQuest girl's name with the bow?
Fiona.
Ariana. Is it
Furiona
Mariana or something?
Furiona.
Yeah, Furiona Ve.
Ferona?
Yeah.
Feronia?
Feronia.
Shrek's wife, I don't know.
Caramore would be cool. Yeah, Shrek's wife. Jeez.
But no, it'd be nice to buy if they had some characters as action toys or whatever. I collect Marvel collectibles, action figures. So why not some EverQuest Next or EverQuest action figures?
Well, they had the EverQuest action figures back in 99, 2000, somewhere like that. I'm pretty Neurotoxin. You probably have some of that stuff, right? There
One
you
of
go.
these pewter war things or whatever.
That was what expansion was that for EverQuest 2? Was it EverQuest or EverQuest 2? I can't remember. It's the But no, they have I know, I was looking it up. I saw a troll action figure for the original EverQuest. I was like, this is awesome.
Poro, it's a scaling consideration with the textures and materials. I was playing around with 3D printing for EQN a while back. That is awesome. I have got to see this.
That is awesome.
That is so cool.
Did the link get through? Yeah.
Yes.
Mnaris, if you guys haven't clicked on that link,
I want one.
That's so
I
cool.
really want one.
An EQNext Kobold from Good Guy Greg, or at Greg Spence, which is awesome.
Yes.
3D printed. But yeah, I just imagine that there would be stuff like that gets, and I don't know, maybe manufactured or something and gets station cash store and it gets shipped to you, Yeah, for sure. I'd pay station cash for that.
These games are going to be free to play. So any way that I could see for them to make money to keep the game alive, great. And something like that would be viable. Even if it was a 3-day of my character in the armor that I selected, simple pose, just standing there, holding a bow or using the daggers in the armor that I pick, $25-$50 for my character. That would be nice. Star Citizens, I don't want to bring another game in, but they had these little plastic spacemen. You get a 3-pack for $25, and that's part of their stuff. They're trying to get their fundraiser, their game. So seeing other games do it, wanting our games to do it would be really nice.
Is it messed up that my eyes are like having dollar signs in there and I'm like $2,000 for a 3D printer, shipping costs? Just gotta download, hack the system, get my stuff, make it for other people, sell it.
Of course, they might just make it an exportable feature, and if they did that, that would be awesome too. Or you just you pay station cash for an export even.
Print on demand, as Amory's saying in chat, World of Warcraft had where you could print your character in various poses, various weapons and stuff. I think it was like $50 5 years ago or three years ago when they were doing it. But Sony, I would love to see do it. I'd rather give them the money than.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean that's going to be some really awesome stuff, and somewhere down the road, it's definitely possible. It's one of those things. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, Poro's bringing up character creation, so if you want to jump on that one, I'm sure you got some stuff that we thought of a long time ago about character creation.
You know what? Character creation is actually one of the subjects I didn't really talk about very much in the first episode. I think I talked a lot more about on-claim sort of stuff, like being able to have people instantly be reskinned to the theme of your claim, and that sort of like that. Beyond that, even being able to actually set custom attributes for things and custom abilities that only exist on your claim. But that was the extent of not necessarily character creation, but modification within the game is more the sort of stuff I was talking about with it. Yeah, character creation is definitely something I'm really excited for, especially getting a proper face and beard combination so my character looks like me instead of Locke. Because someone's like, hey, why did you make your character look like Locke 6 times? I was like, that's the closest I can get.
No, but about that, some of the stuff that you mentioned there, we've talked about claim bound. Well, thrown out the phrase claim bound. The idea being that you have an inventory section of your inventory that is claim bound inventory. Someone has custom created items in the game for that specific claim and that specific claim only that you can acquire on that claim by doing certain things within the claim. And those items work within the claim but nowhere else, and allow you to have, the sword of 1,000 lightning strikes or whatever it is, and you can use that on the claim, and it's pretty awesome, and it does amazing stuff. You walk off the claim, poof, it goes out of your equipped slots, goes into a hidden space that says your claim bound inventory, and it tells you here's the claim that you have to go to be able to use this item. You can't equip this outside in the real world. So claim bound would be awesome.
What you just
they have that.
Go ahead. No, continue.
Oh yeah, they have that. They have that in EQ2 right now. It's called temporary or lore items. Temporary, where when you leave the area, it disappears. It's the same basic concept. So
yeah, I would like that too, because that would come in for when we're creating the dungeons, and you have your NPCs. Okay, take this staff of golem slaying, and kill the golem at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Yep.
If
Campaign
I create an
creation,
adventure
yeah.
like that, that staff would not be usable anywhere else. But I want the players to have it and use it while they're in that adventure. So that would be awesome. That's a great idea.
That's the sort of thing where I hope we'll actually have like access codes and stuff that we'll be able to use specific items and content that other people have on their claims in their campaigns that they can then take over to your campaign and use, and vice versa. So you could actually, the entire sci-fi bay, they could agree on a rule set, on aesthetics, and that sort of stuff.
Right.
And it would be funny when you use one launcher to go from place to place, because your character would like shift out of that mode for a moment and then shift back when you get to the other side. But basically being able to use Sci-Fi Bay, or you see the same thing with Angel Bay, or a lot of these player community sort of places, where the specific rules and equipment and stuff, they only exist while you're in those areas, but it's a group of people working together, such as that if it actually, if a group wanted to, they could build up across an entire continent and have basically their own campaign there, and the only kind of dead spots in it is when you're off the claim boundaries.
So think about this. Go ahead, Daddy.
I was going to say, like they do with H1Z1, they're giving whitelisted servers. Maybe Landmark could get a whitelisted server for guilds or a lot of creative people to go on, create the stuff, and then, give out during a stream. Here's tickets to take the carnival this ride, or, 2 tickets for this ride, 3 tickets for that ride. Just something like that where it doesn't have to be whitelisted, but they can earn tickets by doing different things in game. To go and I find a chest here, you're able to go and explore Neurotoxin's caves. But you need a ticket to do it. So this way you're taking that questing and just continuing around from player to player to player. And that would be a great way to keep the community together, to get at, a roundabout way.
Two things on that.
Go for it.
2 things on that. One, like we had talked about before in the alpha and after the beta forms, about player flagging and the ability to do what you were talking about, Neuro, where you have a flag that you award to the player, and that allows them, it's a key, if you will, that as long as that player has been unflagged or flagged for that, wherever they go, they can interact with different things, and because they have that key or that flag or whatever it is, they're able to interact with those other devices. So if you're jumping around on Angel Bay and you have this certain flag, then NPCs on the claims will treat you differently, or you'll be able to enter doors that other people can't enter. In addition to that, and going back to the lethality build thing, we've got the ability right now to teleport on a claim, and there's ways to push that boundary to teleport across the island. People are doing it. It's pretty awesome. We have already the capability within the game to teleport from island to island and server to server with the gallery. So I don't think it's going to be too much of a stretch, and I think they're eventually going to do it. It's probably a technical issue right now. But set down a start teleporter here, go over to the other claim where you have access to it on another server, on another island somewhere else, and put down the end teleport over there, and then, boom, you walk onto one teleporter and poof, you go over there. Think about lethality build in that regard, where you have a line of teleporters, with signs or something saying where they go or what they do, or even one teleporter that you pull a switch and you go somewhere, where you can go to multiple places in the world from one access point. Which is going to be better, a lethality build or a city that has access to 15, 20 different locations?
You know what that makes me think of?
Spire.
Old school games with loading screens. That's totally what you're building in your like loading screen to zone sort of thing. That's actually a really. It sounds almost like a roundabout way to.
Teleporters going even from claim to claim of your own. If you were crossing boundaries a while back when PvP came out, if you had the teleporters at one end of a 3-lot claim, you had a loading screen between the teleporters. So I can easily see your suggestion working between servers, working between distances from corner to corner on an island and stuff. It's just do they want to allow us to have that freedom? That ability to control.
And that's
do you
a really
think
good question.
Do you think people would abuse it? Yeah,
I
think people would be.
I hope they would. I really hope they would, because that's going to create the kind of community that we really need with Landmark, where people can go and explore other people's claims and go and enjoy other content.
It's like with Da Vinci, Portovar, Noro. If I can put a teleporter on my site, people visit me and say, "Hey, here's a sign. Go visit Da Vinci's dwarf town." By this teleporter, it's just bringing that community working together more, because now you don't have to go through the gallery and load it up. Just here's a sign. Click on it, and poof. You can sponsor your friends. And just or sponsor people who you hardly know that I think it's a nice build, might want to check it out, type of thing.
Yeah, check out my claim. I've got all the links to all the greatest claims that I love in Landmark. Here you go. Here's a cornucopia of teleporters to my favorite claims. Check out these dungeons and these builds. Just come over to my claim on the gallery and you can teleport to wherever.
Then Landmark Explorer can actually have a tour. He puts down his teleporters spot to spot. They just go through and stuff, searching the gallery where you want to go. Let's do a tour.
The Landmark citizens.
Yeah, people had said I should do that for content and creation. Actually, it's for Castles and Crap Shacks to do the voice and everything. It's like I would just hate myself after a while. It'd be funny at first, and then it'd just be like, it's this thing I have to do.
Dude, there's people from actual other countries that listen in on this. They're gonna look at you and be like, no, dude, no.
Oh man. So
now, one thing I wish we can revive players, which is great. It seems to take a little bit longer to revive players, but I think they should have a crystal that you can craft yourself, revive self. Just like you had to craft the particle shards and stuff like that.
It's called a spirit anchor.
Did they put something?
Yeah, spirit anchor.
No. Yeah,
is it in there
Spirit
now?
anchors.
It's been in for a bit. Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
It's fucking crazy expensive. Now, if they made that thing where it's station cash, oh my god, I would spend more money than I should, because that would be so tempting. It'd be like just 200 station cash you can revive right now, or you can cry.
200 station cash? That's
200's I don't know. That's kind of expensive. Maybe 50.
Even 50 cents that's I don't know, like
50 cents for a res instead of going to a graveyard.
I picked a random number. I don't know what it would be. They would figure it out, but whatever it is, I'm gonna spend more money than I wish that I did. If it's 50 cents, I'll buy it way too much, and if it's $5, once I buy it once, I'll be like, man, I shouldn't.
You see, no, hold on now. It could be 5 cents, and the reason why it's okay to be 5 cents is because you aren't using this as the item that you're planning to make money off of. This is the item. This is that first station cash purchase for people. This is that tricky thing that Facebook games do. Just buy the first thing. You only need to spend 5 cents, but you get $10 worth. for $10, but it only costs 5 cents. It's like, well, okay, maybe, yeah, all right, I'll do it. And then the first time you open the wallet and the first time you do it, it makes it that much easier the next time. That's the philosophy. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm saying that could totally be a viable thing here.
I'll leave that discussion there because that's getting into the world of business and ethics that I know, and I just don't want to. I don't want to diverge and start going into like business mode and start talking about that.
We'll have to talk about that. That'll be another episode entirely.
Yeah, I'll leave it there. Evercast Show says break the seal. But yeah, I think that the Spirit Anchor, it eventually it probably will be something that you can use to you can purchase on Station Cash. I'm not sure what that price is, and I think that that's the question that they have right now on what's a fair price. What's cheap enough that would maybe somebody that is gonna be that first item that jumps them in. Maybe not.
Well, you look at the stuff we've already bought. Like I bought tons of storage space. Now we're getting props taken out of storage. They're going to be on their own little tab, which you have to craft as needed. So all that inventory space that I had where I used to carry props and stuff around, am I really going to need 100 slots of inventory anymore?
Yeah.
Yes, when I go out killing monsters and want 100 emitters or pickaxes and stuff, yes.
It's those broken salvage items, since they're probably not going to stack. That and recipes. Recipes take up a lot of damn space, and I'm fine with having a ton of those recipes. See you later, Anders. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's plenty of stuff that's going to fill the inventory. As much as they can push out of the inventory bag itself, there's always going to be room for more stuff to fill the space.
One thing I think they did really good is the recipes, and I thought about it when I first got it. I was like, man, this sucks. Like, the first recipe that you get, automatically you learn, and the next recipe, gets stuck in your inventory, and, this sucks. But then I started thinking about it. I was like, well, we're going to have a broker system. We're going to have a market system. I don't know, broker, whatever they're going to do. It's probably stall system. So you're going to be able to go over and sell those items on the stall, right, to other players. And that recipe system, the way they have it, actually makes it so that you have to sell it on your main character. It's not a good idea to transport it over to a mule because you're going to lose the first of every one of those.
Right.
You're going to have to make sure that mule is fully educated and have all the recipes. And
there's one more aspect to it. This is an easy way to get rid of the need for bind on pickup, to make sure people consume a recipe the first time they get it before they get one that they can trade. It basically eliminates the possibility of that, and for that I really, really like it.
Yeah. It's an interesting mechanic, and I'm curious to see how it works out once we do have the stall system and people start, like, I've seen a bunch of people that are like furious about the recipes and about the emitters because they're like, I got all this garbage, and then on the other side of the fence I see all these people are like, emitters, I need emitters everywhere, I need more recipes, I don't have all of them. So once they have the stall
it's not
system,
just getting all of them, it's multiples of the one you want, or that you really like.
Right.
Those are the ones, if I have 5 emitters of the same thing, I should be able to break them down and learn a recipe how to create them. That's something I would like to see, that if you have multiples of, allow us to consume them, create a recipe so we can then, for our own use, not to trade, not to sell, but just for our own
props
use.
And emitters, you're saying?
Emitters.
Well,
if you have 5 small fire emitters, just theory, you take those 5 emitters, you put them into one of the machines, it crushes them out, gives you a recipe. Now you can create that emitter on demand.
How about switch it around?
Is it just Is it just props and emitters that the new system? Because they were talking about the thing where you don't hold the items in your inventory the same way, but instead they're resources that you just expend when you need to for things that you've learned, but you have to go and learn them out in the world. So
that's just going to be props.
Okay.
Right? I think it's just props to start with.
Okay.
Emitters might come down the road.
So one thing that I'm thinking is for dungeons, for example, if you have the recipe for something, if you could put that in your dungeon, kit as a reward, I think that that's something that you could actually replicate, and wouldn't be too much of a problem. It depends on how they implement it, but it might be something where you can reward everybody who comes into the dungeon with that recipe, and just it's kind of an exploit, but they got to do all these objectives, and the more objectives that you have, it's a heck of a lot better than replicating like a grappling hook or a sword or something like that. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they work dungeon rewards. There's been a lot of discussion about that on the forums and how it's a good way to do that.
Yeah, and that's some of the stuff, the content creation stuff and campaign creation that I was really excited about. I was really excited on when I talked about it a year ago. Then to talk with Jeff Butler at the Year of EverQuest event about it. There are some things that I was a little bit maybe disappointed because it sounds like full-on first-person controls for like first-person shooter style stuff isn't necessarily going to be a thing. But I'm fine with that, and that could also change down the road anywhere. That could be a different setup they do for the voxel Forge Light engine somewhere down the road. But actually, there was something I did mean to bring up earlier. A functionality that I'd really like to be able to see for content creation is differential visuals, differential things for different people in a dungeon. So maybe I enter from entrance A, you enter from entrance B. I can see red blocks, but I can't see the green blocks. You can see green blocks, but you can't see the red blocks. So we have to communicate and coordinate back and forth with each other to actually make it across whatever puzzle or maze that it is. And
that's interesting.
Just as one sort of an idea as something we could do as a content creation feature. Another one would be actually setting different gravities and different planes that instead of walking along this floor, something occurs that now you're walking along this wall as if that wall is basically down, and if you fall through a hole, you basically get shot out the side of the claim or whatever, and you reorient yourself as per normal. But
I think that's doable. I think with what Voxel Farm has been working with floating voxels and altering the physics of those, and falling and gravity and stuff like that. When I'm pretty sure that the physics system which NVIDIA uses is the same thing that's in what's that game called? Kerbal Space Program.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So NVIDIA's physics system is the same thing that Kerbal Space Program uses. So that's the same thing that the Forge Light engine uses. So whatever Kerbal is capable of doing is capable with the engine. Whether or not they have enough processing power to do that with all the other crap that they're doing with the game, I don't know. But I think what you're talking about is possible. And with the red blocks, blue blocks, I think if that was a client-side, because we talked about this in pre-alpha about ignoring claims, and I think it could be a client-side option where when you walk into the claim, you're flagged or you're keyed to only be able to see the red blocks or to not be able to see the red blocks, and then the other player is keyed to not be able to see the green blocks. Now they're there; they just display on your client side as clear as air voxels. So it might be possible. I don't know, but once again, like what's Steve Klug's phrase? It's just code.
Yeah, it's just a little code.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that sort of stuff would be fantastic, and other sorts of stuff, being able to lock your view to, say, a series of security cameras that maybe you press tab or something to switch through. So you're actually walking around in the world. It'd almost be like like one of those stealth sleuthing around sort of games where you see the paths of the guards and everything. You're trying to make your way around. Stuff like that, I would love to see. It would
Solid Snake.
It would
What's
be.
What's that game? Abe's Odyssey.
Yeah.
Remember where you go and you like telepathically control one of the mobs, and you can see what that mob sees. Maybe you can't control him, but you can see what he sees. That would be crazy cool. So that's the cameras thing that you're talking about.
Or once
where you
again,
can
like the
jump
picture-in-picture stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sort of stuff would be absolutely lovely. A locked bird's eye camera mode would be fun to have. A locked, side platformer sort of thing, so you're just playing it like a platformer. I'd love to have those sorts of things too.
If they could control the camera, if they can do that where they can just move your character's camera to another location, then they can do not all of those things. And in addition, you were talking about something first-person shooter. So, lock the person to first-person mode. And I think Diggs or Pouncequick a while back was talking about they had gone on to – it was at the anniversary event. So it was a year and a week ago, something like that, when they had the event in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Yeah.
And apparently he was talking to them and found out that we'll be able to. The concept is that we could possibly reskin some of the weapons, and so you could take for example, a wand, which makes that wonderful zing zing. You could possibly reskin that and change the way that the player animates with that and turn it into a laser gun, and it has the exact same effects as the wand, but it looks like the character's holding a gun or a blaster and shooting laser blasts, but effect wise it's the exact same thing. So tie in first person, tie in that, and now you got a first person laser battle game where you're running around killing players or NPCs.
Yeah. Well, just the reskinning stuff, I think, is going to be the simpler. I was actually talking more about actually using first person for the controls. I didn't know then, but we know now. It seems like because the weapons are a third person sort of thing, I'm actually pretty sure they want to have third person rather than first person. And we had talked about this on one of the previous episodes of this or Theory Forge about basically there's this kind of weird thing in PlanetSide 2. If I'm driving a tank and my crosshair is aiming at something in the distance, but my turret looks like it's going to make the shot go through or clip a rock, it used to actually clip that rock, so your crosshair really didn't help because it didn't tell you when you're in too close of proximity. They then changed that so shots where it looks like they come out in first person are actually arbitrary to where they come out. They actually come out dead center of where your head is. It doesn't communicate that to you in first person, but other people watching, if they look really close, that's actually what they're seeing. It was kind of an interesting change, but they did that because there are so many issues where the crosshair wasn't reflecting where you're actually shooting because there is occlusion with some nearby object. And I think that's why they're going specifically third person in Landmark, is to mitigate that issue significantly. It isn't completely going away, but it's a lot less noticeable in Landmark because we only have third person as an option.